There are a few headlines to touch on this week that I saw coming out of specifically Detroit, and starting with the 11-year-old who was just charged with manslaughter in Detroit with the shooting of a 3-year-old. And Nolan, we haven't seen someone this young, I think, since Nathaniel Abraham, and you don't really see even across the country young offenders this young charged.
And nor should we. I mean, his kid is not capable of forming in his mind a credible intent to harm another child. I wonder why, and I don't know, I assume we'll see it, why the father wasn't charged. I mean, it was his gun that was left unsecured, his gun that the boy got access to. I don't see how you can charge an 11-year-old. Kim Worthy said, well, the facts demanding it. The fact is, it's an 11-year-old child who in court couldn't even pay attention to the proceedings.
And they are going to be pushing for a competency hearing for him. But Nancy, what was your take on that when you first saw it?
I think an 11-year-old is old enough to understand what death is and what guns do, but I don't understand how charging an 11-year-old makes sense in this situation. The criminal intent piece, the really connecting actions to long-term consequences is not something 11-year-olds are great at, and it's going to be really interesting to see what the justification for these charges is, because I'm not, on the face of it, I'm with Nolan, I'm not getting it.
Yeah, I think it kind of takes everyone aback.
And it doesn't seem like there's a good outcome here regardless.
Yeah, but he's being charged as a juvenile right now, though. Let's move on. The other thing that we are watching right now is in Wayne County today, actually, and we do tape our show a little bit earlier than when it actually comes on at 7:30 at night here on Detroit Public Television. But the Wayne County commissioners, they're all sitting down and trying to say if they're going to agree with what Warren Evans wants, a consent agreement for the county. How do you see this all shaking out?
I think they'll agree to a consent agreement. I think the last thing they want is an emergency manager.
While they have choice, do they really have any other choice?
Then a consent agreement?
I mean, they have obviously emergency management, bankruptcy, mediation,
I think they'll pick the consent agreement. The key, though, is whether they can live with it and whether they can implement it and whether they'll do the hard things and make the hard choices that need to be done. This is not going to be an easy process for them, either politically or financially. The county's going to have to take some real hits to get out of this mess.
Do they have a lot of choice, Nancy? This is the path that they should go down.
I think they have to go for a consent agreement, but the key is whether or not they can make it work. The Detroit consent agreement was not as clear as it could have been. It didn't outline specific goals in a very actionable way, and then the mayor and the council couldn't get it together to move forward on those things. They have, I don't see any other choice, but a consent agreement has to be very specific, very clearly articulated goals, and then the commission and the executive have to go together on it, or else it's not going to work.
All right, so that's the big question. Are the personalities in line here to be able to do that, Nolan?
I don't know. I think Warren Evans seems to have a good relationship with the governor. I don't know how his relationship is with the county commission. They seem to be asserting themselves, as they should. I mean, they're elected officials too. They represent a constituency. But I think what you're going to have to see here, you can't fix Wayne County's problems with tinkering. You're going to have to see some really massive changes in the county, some fire sales of assets and properties. Wayne County government owns a lot of land throughout the county. I think that all's got to go up on the block. It's a new day for Wayne County. The revenue that's coming in the door doesn't support the cost of government and doesn't look like it will for a long, long time.
Do you think, were you surprised by the swiftness of Warren Evans' actions since he got into office in January?
No, I mean, I don't really see there's any way around it. Their pension system is like 45% funded. Everybody is freaking out because Detroit's was in the 60%. So, I mean, 47 or 46 or wherever that's not okay.
Yeah. All right, well, one other thing that I saw, the M1 rail project, if you were hoping to hop on in December of 2016, it's not going to happen. So it's been delayed until the spring of 2017. Is that just kind of what's plagued this project? It's just taken so long to kind of get to this point.
You know, it was a big, ambitious project. And, you know, it's not the first public works project we've seen go longer than anticipated. A year is sort of a little bit of a surprise, but I guess they ran into some safety regs that they had to work around and what have you. And it's a little disappointing because it's a mess downtown this summer. And I was hoping that by this sometime next year that would be cleaned up. But I mean, it really is. That construction in the heart of downtown in the summer months is I'm not sure why they didn't push that either to the spring
Last
or the
15
fall.
seconds, Nance, for your impressions.
Has there ever been a public works project that came in on deadline? I mean,
Well, you know,
That's
actually,
probably
the
not.
Michigan Highway Department's been doing a pretty good job of bringing things in on time. If you look at that 96 project last year, but
Well, we'll see.